Configuring your retention policy is one of the most important steps when setting up your organization for the first time. By default, each organization has one retention policy which is configured for a 30-day retention. You can change this retention policy or add another policy through the following steps. First, from the dashboard, click on the Storage tab. Once on the Storage tab, click the Retention tab. The Retention tab is where you go to add additional retention policies or change your existing policies. By clicking the Additional Policy Request icon, you are presented with a form which allows you to select which data center you would like your additional policy to exist on, as well as configure what you would like your additional policy to be. By clicking the gear icon next to your existing policies and then clicking the Data Retention link, you can change what your existing retention policies are. Zetta allows customers to configure as many daily snapshots, weekly snapshots, monthly snapshots, or yearly snapshots as they would like to maintain. With the basics of how to set up retention explained, it's important to understand how retention affects your billing, as well as the basic best practices guidelines around setting up retention policies. You're billed every month on your total footprint under management. The total footprint under management is equal to the amount of primary data on your storage volume, as well as the amount of retention data. The primary data is equal to the most recent copy of what you sent to us. So if you're backing up 100 gigabytes of data, that means your primary data is going to be 100 gigabytes. Your retention data is equal to the amount of change data you have over the duration of your retention policy. The way this works is that if your retention data is generally close to a 1-to-1 ratio of how much data you've been writing to Zetta. On a 30-day retention, if you had 1 gigabyte of change every day, you would have roughly 30 gigabytes of retention data. If you add that on top of your primary data, that means your total billable footprint would be 130 gigabytes. This means that a high change rate of data and a long retention is going to equal a high total footprint under management or a higher invoice. Because of this, the best practice around setting up retention is generally for customers to manage 2 retention policies. Most of our customers have one retention policy set up for database data, such as SQL, Exchange, or Oracle, and a second retention policy set up for their general file server data, which is your PDF documents, your Excel spreadsheets, JPEGs, etc. High change rate data would then be sent to the short retention policy, and low change rate data, such as your file server data, would be sent to the longer retention policy or the retention policy that's as needed by your organization. Database data has an expected rate of change of around 10 to 20% daily based off of what we've seen across our customer base, while file server data has an expected change rate of less than 1% daily.